Boom! What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, CEO, Nutrition. So I get this question all of the time. Do you need a 4-year degree to get into the fitness industry? I'm going to actually tell you no. But before I explain myself, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, click on the notification bell. Appreciate it. Let's move on. So think about it. You're told from the age of kindergarten, from the age of 0, it's your goal to go to college. What? It's your goal to, okay, so let me get this straight. Now, I did an event at Purdue University in Indiana a year ago. Before the pandemic hit, before everybody hit out, when people were walking around smiling at each other without masks on. Crazy times. We actually interacted with other people. Go figure. And we actually saw each other's teeth. Crazy times. Crazy, reckless times. People walk around like biological weapons without masks on, spreading viruses. Crazy. Can't believe I was a part of that. So anyway, I asked him, I'm like, yo, bro, how much does it cost to go to Purdue? Kids say, I don't know what y'all over here are paying, but I'm paying $46,000 a year. $46,000 a year. Out of your mind. I'm gonna do some simple math for you, okay? Now, let's assume you go to college, you get that degree, right? You get a job out of college, you're making 30 grand a year. Let's say in 10 years, you're making 100 grand a year. So over the course of that time, you average out to about $50,000 a year. You wanna buy a house. You want to drive a decent car. You want to go out once in a while, get extra cheese on your Whopper. You want to do all these things. All right, so you got this loan. You got, let's say you didn't go to Purdue. You went to a cheap university, a cheap one that's only $25,000 a year, okay? You take out loans on the whole damn thing. You couldn't get financial aid for whatever reason, right? So you're $100,000 in debt. Well, I'm making 50 grand a year. I should pay that shit off in 2 years. No, bro, 50 grand is your gross. Then you get taxed. Bring that shit down to like $35,000. You want a house. Bring that shit down. Let's say it's down to $18,000 for a modest, inexpensive, like $250,000 house. All right. Bring that shit down with a car payment, $500-$600 a month. Maybe you want kids. Maybe you want a life. Maybe you want to buy food. You're out of money. So let's say you're able to pay couple $100 a month, $100 a month, whatever. Say you're paying this thing off. Say you're paying off $1,000 a year without interest figures, and you're paying off $1,000 towards the principal. You have $100,000. Bro, that's 100 years. That's 100 years. 100 years of paying off a college loan. Now, did you make more money? I'll tell you what, I'm an employer. I employ dozens of people right now. Over the course of my lifetime, I've employed hundreds. Probably thousands of people throughout my careers. And guess what? I don't care about college degrees. In fact, I look at them like, oh, cool, he has a mommy and daddy that can afford to put him through school and take 4 years off of earning. I'm sorry. That's not really my opinion. I got some partners who kind of think that way. Look, dude, I have a 4-year degree. I do. I paid off my loans. I was fortunate to get a really good paying job, and I overperformed it. I kept getting raises and raises and raises, and my wife did really good too. So we were able to pay off our loans pretty quick. But most people, I got a neighbor. I'm not going to mention any names. I got a neighbor in my neighborhood, maybe my neighborhood, maybe a neighborhood over, right? So she's like 45 or 50 years old, right? Like, old compared to what most of you guys are. I'm 40. So she's still, she's 45 years old. Hasn't been to college for over 20 years. Still owes on her student loans. Still paying them off. And yet she just put a $350,000 pool in her backyard. Are you kidding me? You know how much interest they've literally just been throwing away every year because of those loans? Granted, she might have a better job, but let me put this in perspective, right? Unless you have a STEM degree like science, technology, engineering, or math, unless you have a law degree, unless you're going to become a doctor, if you're going into sales, if you're going into marketing, if you're going into fitness, now I'm bringing it back to fitness, I don't see you needing it. Let me tell you what I'm doing right now, right? So I am an Exos Phase 3 trainer, and I have a background in kinesiology. I did a lot of education in kinesiology, got a lot of certificates, did some understudy in kinesiology, undergrad in kinesiology, but I also have a degree in marketing, all right? So I went to something called Exos, and I'm a Phase 3 Exos trainer. It cost me a little under, all things considered, probably around 20 or so K, right? All things considered, all things, travel, hotel, time off, probably more than that for time off for opportunity cost, but you get the point, right? I spent all this money, but Exos Phase 3, I learned everything, man. In a 4-day Phase 1 course, I learned how these coaches train professional athletes. And if I'm with other coaches who are elite, have all these great, I say, well, I'm Exos Phase 3. Unless they're lying to me, they're like, that's pretty legit, bro. So what I'm doing is I am spending the money, I am taking the time, and my kids have an opportunity because they love sports, and they might or might not become coaches, but I'm going to hedge my bets. So this summer, my daughter's starting Exos. During high school, my daughter will complete all 3 phases. By the time she graduates high school, she'll not only be an Exos Phase 3 trainer, she'll also have years of training experience as a soccer player. That opens the door to be a soccer coach, be a performance coach, be a prehab coach, injury prevention coach, strength and conditioning coach. And generally speaking, I think that as a mentorship and experience will get her more than a 4-year degree in kinesiology. And I speak from experience. Beautiful thing is, you have a lot of options. For example, in the great state of Tennessee, we have something called the Promise Act. The Promise Act means if you are a resident of the state of Tennessee, you get the first 2 years of community college or a trade school paid for. Yes, you know the liberals like Bernie Sanders, we need free education for all. Bitch, we've been doing that in Tennessee since 2016. College is free. Sure, a 4-year degree at Princeton isn't free, but it never will be. What is free is community college in the state of Tennessee. So my opinion, if you want to do college, try it. Do 2 years, community college, get your GEs out of the way. I speak from experience. Again, when I was like 19, right? I was on financial aid for football, right? Hurt my knee, long story short. I couldn't afford to be in college that long because it was time I could have been working. I needed to work. I didn't have any money. So what I did is I went to Glendale Community College. I went to West LA Community College. My wife went to Moore Park Community College, all these in California. And we were able to, for pennies on the dollar, compared to college, get a lot of our general education units done. I took Poli-Sci 101, and I took Spanish. I took my final year of Spanish there. My professors at community college were literally teachers or professors from UCLA and Occidental, which are 2 very good, very expensive schools, because they just wanted some extra cash, right? They were teaching on the side at a community college. They were great. Learned a ton. Granted, I went to California Lutheran University in Thousand Oaks, California. At the time, I think it was $27,000 a year. But I mean, think about it. If I took loans out on that, that'd be what, 115 grand, 110 grand. I'd still be paying them off. But lucky for me, I was okay at a sport and I was able to get a lot of financial aid because I was poor. So let's put it to you this way. Should you get a degree to be in fitness? It depends. If your goal is to be a CPA or a bookkeeper or an accountant in the fitness industry, yes. If your goal is to be in sales, if your goal is to be a trainer, probably not. I don't think you need that degree. Here's the deal. When you go to school for 4 years, if you're just going to school and partying and maybe you have a whatever, that's 4 years that you could have been understudying. You could have been doing a mentorship. Like there's a lot of people who go and do a mentorship at Exos in Arizona and actually work there, right? They actually do work and do the mentorship and train under these people. Andrew Hubbard, who was an athlete for MTS Nutrition, he actually worked with Dr. Stu and basically was mentored by Dr. Stu in that craft in Illinois. You don't always have to do things traditionally. The 4-year college degree, and I went to college, has been dumbed down. I didn't learn much from college. What I learned is when I got out in the real world and I did it, or I watched people do it and I observed and I listened and I asked questions. You don't have to put yourself in debt up to your eyeballs. Okay, here are the options. Number one, do not go to a school you can't afford without taking loans. Don't do it. If your parents can't afford it, if you can't afford it. Number two, if you are in school, I want you to get an internship and have as many as you can. Experience trumps education. Of course, there are certain caveats. Engineering, right? Doctors, you can't become a brain surgeon without years of schooling. Lawyers, they're not going to give you a law degree without obviously going to school. For most idiots like myself, you don't need that degree. I don't need my degree, okay? Do the internships, do all of them. Number three, if you do have a state, like the great state of Tennessee, where college is free, get as much back as you can because you've already paid for it. We are taxed out of our ass, okay? You get taxed federally, you get taxed locally, you get taxed by your state. Well, Tennessee has no state tax, you get it. You get taxed on consumption. We get triple, quadruple, and 5 times tax. They take out Social Security, they take out property tax. If the government's gonna give you some shit back, take it. Do the 2 years of community college. Make sure that you know what university you want to go afterwards so you can ensure that every class you take, the units transfer. I have a lot of people tell me I took these community college courses and it wouldn't transfer my university. One way around that is to ensure that you know your path. Choose where you want to go and just kill the first 2 years in community college. If you can, get a job, get a full-time job. My recommendation is full-time job, part-time school. That's just me. You get things done a lot easier now than when I was in school. The new normal, all this COVID bullshit, one thing it taught us that you don't have to be on campus. People are paying 60 grand to go to Yale or whatever, and they're not even on campus. They're fucking watching shit on a computer screen. Again, man, you gotta be able to get that experience. Experience trumps education every step of the way. Okay, guys, that's what I got for you. So to get in the fitness industry, again, start small. Maybe apply for a job with a supplement company or for a gym or whatever and start in their mailroom. Start as an assistant. Start with whatever job you can. Start as the damn janitor and then work your way up. Work your way in the system. That's what I did at Weeder. You know, when I was at Weeder, I started as pretty much as low as you can go in advertising. Worked my way up to be group ad sales director for American Media. That was awesome. But I put in the work. My degree didn't do that for me. My degree did not get me promoted. What got me promoted was working and working and working and outworking and outsmarting my peers. And that's why I'm where I'm at now. It wasn't because I have a crappy 4-year degree from a university that nobody's ever heard of. It's because when I got the opportunity, I grabbed it by the balls and I twisted. That's what I did. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Why don't you go ahead and like this video, subscribe to this channel. And again, I will see you at rumbleintheborough.com May 8th. Phenomenal event benefiting 3 amazing charities, Legacy of Valor, St. Jude's, and the Shepherd Foundation. Appreciate you guys so much. And of course, if you're hungry, be sure to get your outright bars. I'm Marc Lobliner, and that's not a game.